Right? Okay. So today I'm going to play with a few new arm positions that I've been working with. So you'll have to give me feedback about how those feel, but I'm trying to access some different muscles in your shoulders. So, we'll start standing. Feet pointed straight ahead. See if I can get my whole body. And do that quick scan of your body. Just feel where you are in space. How's it feeling? Take a deep breath, relax your belly, feel where your shoulders are, and just notice. Do you have one shoulder that wants to sit forward? Where are your hands? Thumb and forefinger hanging by your sides. Where is that today? And then let's go ahead and do some shoulder shrugs. Gently squeeze your shoulders onto your back, slide them up and push them down. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. So as we access the muscles of the upper back and we get the muscles of the upper back to come out of that rounded position into some thoracic extension, then we change the curvature of the neck and the curvature of the low back. So we're going to do these arm positions that I've been working with in standing, in lying down, and we'll feel what's happening with it. Relax, go into it one more time, squeeze your shoulders just a little bit, relax your stomach, bring your arms up and down, lift and lower. Okay, so here's one. Take your hands and just put them one over the other and then curl your fingers together. And I want you to pull your arms apart. So feet pointed straight ahead, soft belly, shoulder blades on your back. And I want you to essentially abduct your arms or pull them apart. If you have long fingernails, don't stab yourself, but press and release so that you feel the muscles on the back side of your shoulder blades engage. Do about 10. And it doesn't have to be a crazy pull. I just want the muscles on the back side of your back to activate. So you could do this with a band also, but I'm always trying to figure out ways to access some of these muscles without having any equipment. Flip them over. Same thing, go ahead and curl your fingers and then pull your arms apart and just notice how that changed it. Do you have access to both sides? Feeling the muscles behind the shoulder blade, in toward your spine, underneath the shoulder blade. Accessing the muscles that pull the shoulder blades closer to the spine, even if the shoulder blades don't move very much. So rhomboids, mid-trap, around the arm bone in here. So subscapularis, some rotator cuff muscles. Good. Then I want you to place one arm on top of the other. And I just want you to press like you're pressing your arms together. So that's going to be top of the shoulder on one side, bottom of the shoulder on the other. And just press and release. And do about 10 and then switch and press and release. So some of us have a rotation in the arm bone that changes the way the deltoid activates or the way that the muscles around the shoulder blade activate. The deltoid's up here, so more having to do with the connection from the arm bone into the shoulder blade. Good. And then go ahead and just open this arm up to the sky and back down. So you're creating kind of a right angle so that that arm can just rotate in the shoulder socket up and down. And then switch your arms again and take that one up and down and just see, are they the same? Are they a little different? How do we bring more balance into those two sides? External rotation, internal rotation. At this forward right angle and release. Nice, shoulder rolls up and back and around. So we're going to do those also lying down and just change how gravity is working on the shoulder a bit. Forward circles, up and forward and around. And backwards again. Good, one more time, 10 forward. And feel, do you have even contraction between the two shoulder blades onto your back? Up and forward and around. And remember that oftentimes we have symptoms in the low back or the neck, and it has to do with this upper back position being out of position. So specifically, if there's too much rounding in the upper back, then that rounding of the thoracic back, that C shape that starts to happen in the thoracic back, makes the low back pinch and the neck pinch based on the position that it puts your head or the position that is crunching and not allowing that curve in the low back, that space. So often we don't have symptoms in the mid and upper back, but that's where the problem is, or the compensation from some pelvic misalignment. Either way, we can go after it. Okay, come down onto your back, and I'm going to just have you go legs out straight today. So grab your block and place your block between your feet so that your big toes can be against it, and that just holds that same alignment that we had in standing is now this alignment on your back. Tuck your shoulders underneath you a little bit. Make sure your head's coming down. And just feel your body on the floor. Notice if there's tension. You could even feel like, is it the same between the two hips? Ideally here, we'd be in a neutral pelvic position. You'd have some space between your low back and the floor. Your pelvis and your rib cage are right in line with each other. And the floor is kind of holding your pelvic girdle and your shoulder girdle from moving. And then I want you to go ahead and soften your knees, but flex your ankles back towards you. So you're pulling your toes back towards your hips. Again, knees stay soft, ankles flexing. So that dorsiflexion of the ankle locks the ankle joint and drives the rotation up into the pelvis. So if there's extra femur rotation, the leg bone, the upper leg bone, if that's turned, and maybe that's turned, maybe you have a shoulder that's really forward, and so when you're standing in space, that pelvis is rotated just to keep you standing. So the good news about being on the ground right now and locking the ankle is that if any rotation needs to come out of that leg bone, it's being able to do that. And you may feel things release as you open up this thoracic back. So let's go back into those hand exercises. So elbows out, one hand curled into the other, and then you're going to try to pull your arms apart and feel the muscles again on the back side of your shoulders activate. Press and release. Press, release, press, release. Let's do that 10 times. Keeping the ankles flexing and the knees soft. And maybe you start to feel that up in your hips. If your pelvis is normally a little bit forward, maybe you feel muscles in your low back starting to react and relax.
switch your hands. So curl one over the other and then curl your fingers. Again, so like this. And then pull those apart. Pull and release. Again, feeling muscles on the back side of your shoulders activate. Keep flexing at the ankle, soften at the knees. Maybe feeling something in around the pelvis. We know you're doing it well if some of those hip muscles turn on. Good, one arm over the other, and then we'll just rotate that arm out. So now we have this right angle of the shoulder, elbow being right above the shoulder joint, down and open that up. Finding the muscles that rotate the arm bone. And maybe the shoulder blade reacts to that and goes a little bit more underneath your back, letting your upper back open. And then switch sides. Good. Now the other muscles that often get weak in our body, we don't do a lot of pull-ups, or maybe some of you do, but some of us don't do so many pull-ups. So this muscle, the lat and the serratus, can get weak in relationship to some of those other muscles. So I want you to just take your other hand and create resistance. So you're going to pull this arm down. That's how that muscle turns on. So you're going to create resistance with this other arm and just hold it so it can't go anywhere. Press down until you feel the muscles on the side of your body. And notice if your shoulder wants to hike itself up towards your ears. See if you can keep that shoulder blade down and back away. And I know your shins are probably getting really tired, but keep those feet flexing. Then press your arm down toward the floor and release. Press, release. Press, release. Soft knees, ankles flexing. Maybe you feel the bone in your shoulder change position a little bit in how that shoulder is sitting in the shoulder socket. That would be cool. Switch. So create resistance with this other arm and then press down until you feel the muscles on the side of your body activate. Press, release. Press, release. And just notice, do you have better access to one side than the other? Do you feel like it's a stronger position? Maybe if there's been an injury to a shoulder, that's true. Good. Okay, a couple more here. Put your arms down on the floor. Shoulder blades gently underneath you. So when our shoulders round forward, the carry angle of our elbow changes and the arms usually bend a little more. The tightness in the front of the chest kind of takes over. So I want you to put your arms down on the floor. Keep your feet flexing and knees soft. I know we've been here a while now. Press your arms down into the floor until you can feel your tricep, the muscle on the back side of that arm. So shoulder blades down and back. Press both hands down into the floor. You're going to fire muscles around your shoulder, but I also want you to find your tricep. So elbows straight, arms super, super straight, and press down. Then release. Press and release. Find that tricep. That's going to help activate the muscles on the back side of the arm into the back side of the shoulder and change how that shoulder is sitting in relationship to your back. And maybe that changes the muscles all the way down your back. Keep flexing those ankles. Soften at your knees. Make sure you get 10 with every press that you feel the back side of your arm. Awesome. One more. Interlace your fingers. Pull your arms over your head all the way up and over. The position of the psoas from the low back all the way through the front of the pelvis, hooking onto the inside of that leg. The psoas has hip flexion or trunk down or a slight external rotation of that leg bone. So if you have knees that point in, maybe just being in this position, activating hips, it'll start to pull that femur into a better position. 10 pullovers. And relax your legs. Whew. Go ahead and move that block away. And then come into foot circles, point flexes, pulling that left leg in toward you, shoulders down and back. Now you're in a split hip position. So hopefully the work that we did just made the two sides of your pelvis more level. Now we're coming into one hip bent, one leg straight, and pull your shoulders down and back into that middle back space. Use your knee to help activate those muscles still on the back side of your back. Circle 20 times all the way around. I've really been finding that those longer hold or relaxed positions like supine groin really can't be underestimated. The change that we get when the body is able to soften into those positions versus just muscling them into a new position is pretty profound. Reverse your direction with your foot. At continuing to notice some of what Pete Egoscue noticed, which was sometimes when the body compensates, it gets held there in that new compensating pattern for months or maybe years, the way that the body's been just trying to move forward still, point and flex. And some of those compensating patterns might be painful and some of them may not be, but still, it's not the most precise or most optimal movement position we can have. If your leg bone stays rotated in, then the muscles that you're using to bring your leg forward are not the prime movers of that action. Go ahead and switch. So as we hold those positions and we get the bone to change position, then hopefully when we ask it to work, the leg bone is lined up in the pelvis in a better way. So more of the correct muscles bring the leg forward with each step. Shoulder blades down and back, circles. Reverse it. And point and flex. Both feet on the ground with a block at your knees. So now we're taking it into this knee bent position. We're going to keep this stability here by squeezing, add a little pressure in on that block. And then I want you to go after these arm positions one more time. So one hand forward, one hand back. Now that we've got your pelvis lined up, maybe your shoulder blades can go underneath you a little more, right at kind of neck level, and then pull, release. And just see if you're starting to have a stronger activation with the muscles on the back side of your shoulders. And how does that change all the way down the chain into your middle back, into your low back? Good. Switch. Pull. Keep squeezing with the block at your knees so that you're really holding your pelvis and leg bones stable while you keep changing this upper back position. More thoracic extension, more activation of the muscles that support the arm bone into the shoulder. And then one arm over the other. Open up that arm and then release it back down, keeping that arm straight above the shoulder so that that's in a right angle and you're just doing that rotation. Maybe you can take it all the way out as far as it'll go. Keep squeezing that block with your knees. Find those adductors on both sides. Switch. Open that arm. And then arms down by your sides, find your triceps. Press your full arm into the floor. Find the back side of that arm, upper arm bone. Press so much that the elbow straightens all the way. You can find tricep. 10 presses.
Kyra, are your palms down or up?
Palms down.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's harder to find that tricep. Palms up. Palms down helps that arm straighten, especially like all the way at the pinky. Okay, we're going to add on right hand tucked underneath your back. So right, going to that right shoulder, making a square with your left hand. So this is we call it a tricep stretch. These are some of the ones Pete took away, unfortunately. But take that hand underneath and go for a tricep stretch. And then I want 10 squeezes at your knees. Squeeze and release. So that's a big upper back position. One side is doing something a little differently than the other based on the rotation of that shoulder blade. Relax your belly. Let it go. And then release that arm. Second side, left arm tucking underneath your left shoulder, making a square with that right arm over your head. And then 10 squeezes at your knees. Squeeze, release. And release your arm. Take your block away. Pelvic tilts. Rock it back and forward. And just feel if your spine can move between your shoulders and your pelvis. So from the pelvis through the shoulder girdle that's just being kind of held by the floor. Maybe all the way into changing the position at your neck. Good. And then the last one here, I want you to put your head on so that it's you have an arch at your neck and a gentle arch at your low back. Your shoulder blades are even underneath you. Press down with your head 10 times. So that's bringing your ears right over your shoulder. And for all of us that have a little bit of a forward head position, that forward head position changes the relationship between the front and the back of the body by tightening up the muscles in the front of the neck and not letting the muscles of the back of the neck work like they're supposed to. So gently press your head down into the floor and activate those neck muscles. Press, release, press, release. See if you can, once again, alter the position of the front and the back of your body by telling your body that your head needs to stay right over your shoulders. Let's go head a little bit long. So chin down towards your chest. Press, release, just in case there's a little too much extension in the neck. And of course, if you got any zingers or pinches in the neck, skip this one. If it feels good to activate these muscles, stay with me. Okay, chin to chest now. Just pick up your head off the floor, find your deep neck flexors, and release it back down. Chin to chest, lift, and down. Chin to chest, lift, and lower. One more. And then bring your head back to a neutral position. So looking straight up at the sky, and just rotate your head all the way to the right, all the way to the left. You can kind of let your head slide. All right, come to seated. Now let's stack our body up this way. So ears over shoulders over hips. And then go into your femur rotation. So once again, flex your feet back, tighten your thigh muscles, hands behind you, and then draw your shoulder blades back. See if you can even find your triceps here, that muscle on the back side of your arm, by bringing your hands together, squeezing, feeling the chest lift a little bit, relax your belly, and then rotate the leg bones out and in, thighs tight, feeling those move in the hip socket, all the way out, all the way in. Shoulder blades gently hugging towards each other so that you have thoracic extension happening into lumbar extension. Then take them a little bit wider. Same thing. Out and in. And wider one more time. Feet flexing. Out and in. That's the hardest position to do it. Find those rotators, muscles underneath your butt muscles that pull that leg out, muscles on the inside and outside of your hips that rotate that leg in. Feel your shoulders still squeezing onto your back. Awesome. Bring your legs back in. Come to your hands and knees. First, see how it is to just let your belly hang toward the floor, let your shoulder blades squeeze together. Let your head drop. Knees move just slightly back behind you. We'll take any little bit more rotation out of your body by loading up your shoulders now. Feeling your arm bones like pillars, moving into the back of the shoulder socket. Shoulders stay away from your ears, so that middle back gets to be active. Now you decide if this much extension is okay for you. Letting your pelvis roll over the top of the leg bones. And then gently pull your belly up and in a little bit. Be more organized through your front body. So find some abdominals, low belly into rectus. Hold that stable. And now take opposite arm and leg out and release. Good. Out and release. So you should feel muscles all the way around the back and the front. And switch. Spine basically stable while your arm and leg get to do that motion. Keep going. One more each side. And then cats and dogs. All the way up, all the way down. And then tuck your toes under. Feel your low belly work. And just hover your knees off the floor. Holding that position. Toes tucked. Thighs even. Breathe. And release it down. Do a couple cats and dogs motion. And then again, tuck your toes under, hover your knees off the floor and hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release it down. Come into a sitting floor twist. So now we have open shoulders, ears over, shoulders over, hips. Pull that right leg in. Put the right hand behind you. Sit up as tall as you can. Through the low back, feel both butt cheeks root down to the floor, and then twist to the right. And breathe. That right shoulder behind you, hugging down in towards your middle back, allowing more twist to happen through your spine. And then untwist, switching sides.
Left leg over the right, left hand behind you, right hand crossing over the front, pulling that left shoulder blade down and back, letting the mid-trap activate, the rhomboid activate. Feeling both butt cheeks on the ground. And as that stable low back, rotation up through the rib cage, and then again, ears over shoulders, that head position will also help you rotate more. And untwist. Onto your hands and knees once more, cats and dogs, again. And then come up into a kneeling groin stretch. Left foot forward. Make sure that it's far enough forward that as you bend into that, your hands can be on your knee, and then your knee isn't going over your ankle. Square your hips, shoulder blades down your back, and just let that back hip open as much as it can. Let this front hip also bend into that as much as it's able. So this is as much about vertical load as it is anything else. And now that you've found the shoulder blade muscles from all this stuff, actually we could even do it here. So bring your hands into that position, one hand forward, curl the fingers, and then just hold a pull, a constant pressure out, and feel the shoulder blades around your mid-back activate, and see if you hold that position, what happens at your hips? Do they open more? And start to feel that discovery between what happens at your thoracic back and what happens at your pelvis. Anybody notice that? And release out of it. Switch sides. Make sure to flip your hands over for this one. So first, just hand at your knee, shoulder blades down and back, feel that position. And then make sure to do the opposite of what you did before. One hand forward, one hand back, curl the fingers, shoulder blades down and back away from your ears. Pull, constant pressure, elbows apart, shoulder blades onto your back. Feel as you activate the shoulders, what happens at the pelvis? Does it act as a release mechanism for the hips to keep opening? And release. Hands and knees once more, round and arch, cats and dogs. And then grab your chair or something to put your arms up on, because we've done so much of that upper back opening. We're going to go after it a little bit more. So hands on the seat of your chair or your bench, and then bring your hands. One option would be to try to touch your shoulders. The other option would just be to cross them there on the edge of the bench. I'm going to try to go this way, and then move your knees back. Let your head go down, and take that into a big upper back opening.
Letting your pelvis tip forward. You might even feel your hip muscles.
And then release out of that. Let's use that. Go into a downward facing dog pose. Tuck your toes under, pressing up and back.
Fingers on the floor, pulling your chest down toward the floor, sending your hips up. And then if you can keep your back in pretty good extension, then let your heels go down. You could also be knees bent here. Either one is fine.
And then come all the way up. And just feel that. Does it feel like your shoulders want to be in a new zip code? Hanging out on your back a little bit, maybe away from your ears. How do your feet feel? Is there any stiffness or tightness somewhere else because of all that upper back opening that we did that needs to come out? From this position, go ahead, we're going to do standing foot circles. So find your balance. And because your upper back is in a new position, it might feel like different muscles activate around the back side of your hip. So feel that, notice that. Shoulder blades stay down and back so that we don't lose what we've got. And then 10 circles all the way around. Reverse. And point and flex. Switch. Find that. How does that side feel? And 10 circles. Reverse. And point and flex. Do you notice that you have better access maybe to muscles on the back side of your body when you stand here? That would be cool if automatically you feel this butt muscle engage when you lift that leg up or when you're just standing on that side. All right, find a spot for an air bench. Come and sit at the wall. Hi, Kitty. Slide down. And then press your low back flat to the wall. Feel the rounding happen all the way through. So we've done a lot of stuff where we opened the upper back. Right now, go ahead and let your whole spine be round. Healthy spines can move in both directions, all the way into some extension and into flexion. So let it round right now and then begin to work
each vertebrae back toward the wall and just notice, do you have some that work in chunks? And maybe how well do you have access to your abdominal muscles to kind of uncurl each segment of vertebrae up the wall until you can get back to that extended position in the upper back. And you can just kind of hang out and play there. So shoulders gently come around. Feel all the way at the upper back. Can you gently round that part of your spine? Can your middle back round? I have one chunk that's like a big vertebrae I roll over. Then can you put each segment back up on the wall till your shoulder blades can move back and down into your just regular standing position. Feel those leg muscles. Air bench is a great exercise for reducing rotation at the pelvis, at the shoulders. You could even feel your glutes here if you press your heels down into the floor. And come on up. Have a great ski day, Dee. Okay. Come into, what? You're very whiny today. Come into whatever position you would like to be in for your meditation. What? What do you want? You could be lying down on the floor and just let all that work that we did just settle, or come to seated. What do you want? Do you want me to play you outside? Do you want to go outside? All right. So take a moment to just show up to your sensations in your body and your own breathing. Begin to allow your body to separate from the habit of the mind, or that monkey mind. The mind's ability to take us into identifying with it. So as you begin to separate your larger self or your true self from just the habit of your mind, allow that separation to just exist and be in the seat of the observer. Again, your mind has your personality, your name, your thoughts, all of that. Just allow your beingness to separate from all those relationships and all of what your mind wants to stay wrapped up in. And just be here. Feel your breathing. Listen for the sounds. Notice the sensations. Observe any thoughts that arise without allowing your mind to take you with them. And just come back to the sensations that are here in the present moment.
This space is timeless. This aspect of being is connected to the whole. There's no separation. If your mind starts to take you away, come back. Be in this last minute exactly as if you were starting all over. And be fully present. Feel the full connection that always exists. With one full breath, come back around. Of course, you can always turn off your computer and stay there, or you can check in.